war on terror is a lie, brought to you by the FBI.
The war on terror is a lie, brought to you by the FBI.
Thank you.
So President Obama has asked Congress to approve an unlimited war in the Middle East. He wants not only the authority to bomb Iraq and Syria, he wants not only the authority to train a rebel army, he wants not only the authority to send arms into the region, destabilizing arms, but he also wants the authority to attack other countries. He wants to have no geographical boundaries on his war that he's waging in the Middle East. We must oppose that. We must repeal the authorization for use of military force that was passed 12 years ago and is still being used to justify our military strikes, our drone strikes in Pakistan, in Yemen, in Somalia. That must stop. The United States is not the ruler of the world. The United States does not have the wisdom to sort out the problems of the world. The United States does not have the right. It's against the UN Charter. It's against our own Constitution to be making war just because the President says so. The Congress must vote no on an authorization for use of military force.
Hey, hey! We're here to tell you that your voice is needed, and needed now. The President has asked Congress to give him authorization to go to war in Syria and Iraq or anywhere else where he wants to go to war. These authorizations of military force have led to catastrophes over many decades. Some of you may remember the Gulf of Tonkin resolution that gave President Johnson the right to go to war and do whatever he wanted in the whole world in Vietnam. Well, that sure turned out beautifully, didn't it? 58,000 American troops were killed in Vietnam because of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. All for what? 2 million Vietnamese were killed during that war. All for what? In 2003, the United States Congress were stampeded into authorizing the right for President Bush to attack Iraq, to invade Iraq with hundreds of thousands of troops, and to conduct shock and awe. Certainly, such a military effort would bring goodness to Iraq and to get rid of the evil dictator Saddam Hussein. Well, that authorization and that war certainly worked out well for the United States in Iraq, didn't it? No. The fact of the matter is that ISIS would not exist if we had not invaded Iraq. So here we are again. United States bombing and troops once again are the solution to the world's problems. Whatever happens to ISIS, we all know that nothing good comes of this. Lots of people in this country get rich. The war makers get to make their weapons. They use some of them themselves. They sell others to countries like Saudi Arabia, the most repressive government on the face of the earth, who are our top ally in our war against ISIS after the Saudi royal family funded the groups that became ISIS. All of this, of course, makes perfect sense if you live in a lunatic asylum. So here we go again. The President has requested authorization from Congress to go to war. If you care about your soldiers, if you care about the people in Iraq and Syria, if you care about your country, don't do this again. We have only ourselves to blame.
It's unbelievable. And why are we doing this? The only reason we're doing this is to protect that area for oil companies, and that's it. As Smedley Butler so famously said so many years ago, war is a racket. A few profit, the many pay. The ones that are paying are you, the taxpayer, your children, your parents, your grandchildren are going to wind up paying for this. So many people in Iraq and Afghanistan have died already. They were civilians. They had absolutely nothing to do with any of this stuff. Out of this mess came the birth of the Islamic State, which is running around slaughtering people. You know, it's war after war after war, and they claim it's an ideology, but it's a pathology. And we do this all the time, and it needs to stop. I'm 63 years old. The only time I can remember that this country wasn't in direct conflict was during the Carter administration. That's ridiculous. We have to go around the world bouncing all over the place, spending your money and giving munitions to other people that eventually turn around and use against us.
The U.S. is the #1 supplier of arms around the world. We give arms to 150 countries, well, give or sell. So that means that the main beneficiary of U.S. foreign policy are the arms dealers and the companies like Halliburton that supply our troops, always at very overpriced prices. We have 900 bases around the world in 153 countries. There are only about 40 countries around the world who do not have U.S. bases in them. Can you imagine how ridiculous it would be for us to have a military base of some other country here? But that's what most countries have. We're just like the Roman Empire. And the most important thing that we need to be doing is banding together and solving the environmental crisis of our planet. 20, 40 years from now, no one's going to remember who we were fighting in 2015. All they're going to think is, why weren't they doing something so that the storms wouldn't be quite so extreme, the droughts wouldn't be so bad, we wouldn't have so many cities along the coastline submerged. It's really serious. We need to stop burning fossil fuels, and instead our government is going after the last fossil fuels that exist, spending more on the wars than they could possibly get from the wars. We're really asking everybody to call Congress and ask your congressperson and our 2 senators to not vote for the authorization of military force against ISIS, and don't arm the local forces either. The number for Congress is 202-224-3121. Hundreds of thousands of people in Iraq and Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, places I can't even think of right now, have already died in our supposed war on terror.